I am not planning to edit this video. Today is my last weekday off before I start my job. So I'm just gonna talk all about it, just like I've talked to my friends. One of you was asking about the story because I mentioned that I just got a job as a chocolatier, and it is insane. I don't have any experience with chocolate or anything. So I'm gonna talk about all the things involved with this. So how it came about and why I applied and how I got the job without the experience and taking chances in your older age or just any time really, just your one beautiful life that you have. So we're just gonna chat today, and I might need to pause this and get some water. Okay, so I'm gonna give all sorts of backstory as well, because growing up, I listed so many things that I wanted to do. There was never this one thing, like even an astronaut. It was always like photographer, author, like singer, what else? Missionary. Anyway, a lot of things that I have done, and I knew I never wanted an office job. So I worked at an outdoor camp and actually several jobs like that. And so anyway, I'm actually working at a climbing gym part-time right now, but it is an hour away. And so I'm only working 2 hours in the afternoon, and it's only 2 days a week. And so I'm driving as much as I am working, but I also get to climb while I'm there. So it's helping me work out a couple of times a week at least. And I really do like it. It's just, I like the job itself. It's just the things around it. Like, even though I can get groceries, which I need to do tomorrow, on the way to work, I'll do a grocery pickup and have them in my cooler in my car. So it's convenient in that way, but I'm like, I don't need to do that twice a week. So if I could just do once a week, that might even be better. But anyway, I also wanted to be more plugged into the local community here. We used to have more support with my husband's job, but there's a way smaller community, like drastically smaller community from his work where we are now. And so I want to be connected locally. I do a lot on YouTube, and that came about because of me being more isolated, but I also don't want to be on my phone all the time, and I don't want that to be my primary social interaction, and it kind of is right now. So, you know, I mean, I'll talk to my family on the phone and everything too, or even Zoom calls with my friends in real life, but it's still not the same. Like, I don't want the screen in between me and people. I don't know. Also, if you don't know, you might want to speed up the video if you don't know that you can do that. Maybe look up how to do it. It's really easy, but the playback speed in settings, if I'm talking too slow for you as I'm processing and thinking of what to say next. But anyway, let me know if you're interested in a job as a chocolatier, or if you're just watching because you think it's an interesting story. So to me, it doesn't even seem like a real job. Like, it seems so fake, or it seems like a movie or a book. And so anyway, I will say, I think it was a YouTube video that prompted me. I had been looking for a while at jobs, but it was mostly, there's a climbing gym connected to the one that's an hour away that I'm working at. And it's in my town, and it's only like a 15-minute drive from my house. But they haven't been hiring since I moved here, and except for the like 2 weeks that I was on vacation. So they hired someone while I was gone. I'm like, seriously? And I was really getting frustrated about it, kind of bummed out about it until this. So I watched a video, I think, that was talking about, like, what do you want your life to look like? And what are you gonna do about it? And so it's really funny. It wasn't oh, I want to be a chocolatier. Like I said, that was never one that was on my list, but you can see the creative jobs and everything were kind of on my list. But actually, even like being an artist was never on my list because I didn't like, for me, how I grew up, it was like, oh, that's not a real way to make money. So after watching that video and kind of thinking about it for a while, I was like, you know what? I want a job that's closer, but also artsy. And so I literally typed in a town actually that was 30 minutes away. And because it's a very artsy town, it's almost like a touristy town. And I put fun, artistic, or fun and creative jobs. And a list of 20 came up. I think it was like through Indeed, or it was like simplyhired.com. And it had this job that was not in that town, but in my town. And when I searched the same phrase for my town, this job didn't pop up. So I don't know. It's seriously insane. And so I was reading about it, and then I was like, okay, what is a chocolatier? That was the only one that sounded interesting though. The other ones were like, they didn't seem that creative. They seemed more like an office job. I mean, like graphic design, but again, it's looking at a screen a lot. And I already do that enough. So I looked it up and I was like, okay, seems like maybe you have to be really precise and specific, but reading the description of this particular chocolate company also was helpful. And she said, like, we can train you. So I was like, okay, trusting you. And I have done jobs like that before. When I worked in my outdoor camps, there was tons of training and so much stuff that I was learning. And it was like seasonal. So I was working like 4 months, and then you decide if you want to stay on and work. Like I first worked the spring, and then it's like, do you want to come back in the fall? And the whole semester I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so stressful. I'm messing so many things up. And like, I just don't want to do this. And then the last week I had an amazing week and just things went so smoothly. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I ended up going back. And of course, the longer I was working at the job, the easier it got. And the more I became the person who knew what was going on and was helping the newer people. So I really liked the detailed description they gave about the job. That was very helpful. So I was like, okay, maybe this will be good. I will give it a shot. I did some research on writing a cover letter. I watched a video about it because usually I just feel like they're so weird and I don't know. But I also am a writer, so I want to tell extra details and everything. So I also was researching about the specific company, and I was like, I love her story. She had interviews online and stuff, like video interviews, TV interview kind of things. And so I did an application through the website and just filled out that information. And then I did a cover letter, which always feels weird to me because they're like, oh, make it formal and like put your information at the top and then, you know, the date and then dear whoever. And I'm like, well, I don't know who it is, but I'll just say the owner and hiring team or hiring manager or whatever, because I don't know who I'm actually going to be contacting. So I did it that way anyway, and just wrote some of the reasons I was interested. I think I don't even remember what I said. I kind of need to go back and read it, but I put it through, and then the next day I think I got a response. By the way, I saw that listing an hour after it was posted. And I think I applied within like 3 hours of it being listed. And then later that day, I think, or maybe the next day for sure, it was down. And that's kind of how I felt. I was like, oh, everybody's going to want this job. So let me get on this. And it was listed as a full-time job, but it said 30 to 40 hours a week. So I was like, okay, it's not like something crazy like 60 hours a week where I'm going from so much free time doing my own thing on my own schedule. It said flexible schedule too, and I was like, okay, that's different for different people, but I will ask. So like if I make it that far. So the day after I applied, I got a response through the app, and it said, I see that you don't have experience in food service. Why are you interested in being a chocolatier? And I was like, okay, well, at least I got a response. But I was like, yes, that is true, but I don't view it as a food service job. Like, I've never been interested in food service, partly because of like, you hear horror stories from people all the time. My sister worked at a pizza place growing up, and it was like people would make her cry with the mean things they said, but she was also young. That was like her first job. So, you know, I've been through lots of different types of work and just life experiences, and kind of have better expectations of what's gonna happen and how I can handle things. But I just said, like, I view it more as creative work, which I've definitely done through my photography and painting ornaments and like for a business. And I also, I think I mentioned being drawn to the community aspect of it. Like, I like how she's running her business. I didn't really state it like this, but I like how involved the business is in the community and admire that. And you know, I have run my own small business. What else did I say? Anyway, that kind of thing. And so then she replied, I think that same day maybe, and was like, okay, can you come in for an interview tomorrow or the next 3 days after that? And I was like, tomorrow will work better for me. Like, is there a time that works for you? And so she told me the time, and then I started panicking. I was like, oh my goodness, this is real. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And so, in my application, or maybe my cover letter, I had also mentioned my brother did a job at the Masters. I think I've talked about this before. And he has talked about like working at a high level and how it's kind of changed his life. I've seen the opportunities it's given him and everything.
I'm going to create a playlist of these videos because I'm going to try to keep them short and sweet because it makes editing and uploading faster and easier. And since I don't have a lot of time, that is what's happening now. And that way I can break them down into smaller, more focused chunks. And you can check back to the playlist to see if I've uploaded one, because I'm not sure I'm going to have it send out a notification when a new one pops up, since it isn't exactly about decluttering and, you know, simplifying life at home as much as my other videos. But if you're interested, then keep checking those. And maybe I'll post in my shorts about it more so you can get a notification of that. So the next video will be the interview and preparing for that.